I've intentionally put a bad motor on this machine. I don't know how good the sound quality is with this phone, but I think you'll notice a difference. Like I said, this is a bad motor. I recently took it off of a customer's machine and replaced it with new. Here's how we're going to find out whether that noise that we're hearing, which can come from your hopping foot and the such in the front, maybe if you're not oiling your hook, it's going to be a little noisier up front, but it's hard to identify that noise as you go to the back. This one, if I go in close, you might be able to hear that motor. Let me try slowing it down a little bit. There you go. Now you can kind of hear that whine. But we need to make sure that's what it is. So here's what we're going to do. So what we need to do is isolate the motor from the machine. Pretty easy thing to do. See if I can do it one-handed. We're going to take these screws out of the back of the fan cover. Yours may be just like this, or it may be slightly different, but it works basically the same way. Once you loosen those screws, take them off. Now you can see the motor belt. And the motor belt is spinning, and that's what makes the mechanism of your machine to operate. We're going to roll this belt off. And I'm just pulling it to the side and rolling the wheel and separating that. Now we can see if it's the noise from the machine or the motor itself. I'm simply going to turn it on in constant mode. And yes, that is the sound that a bad motor will make. And you'll notice it'll gradually get worse, and different speeds it may change the sound a little bit. That's not what a new motor sounds like. Oh, yeah, that's getting pretty bad. And we're going to go ahead and shut that off. And you'll notice when I hit shut it off that it keeps rotating. I'm going to get an error in CS. Just go and cancel that. And you'll be good to go with that. And change this motor out. There's several little things to do here, but nothing very complicated. Taking a couple of those screws out the front, only because I'm already standing here, might as well. On the back, if it's a Statler, it's going to have this encoder assembly, so you're going to take those long screws out so that you can unplug that. Pretty long. Once you get those out, if you look how this is put in, it only goes one way. You're just going to pull that off, unplug that, and then beside your motor here you can unplug the actual connection for the motor. Just squeeze those tabs and pull that off. Now you've disconnected your motor. We're going to take out the last two screws in the back. Okay, so we've got that motor off. We've got a replacement here. We're going to go ahead and set it on the machine. Notice the wires on the bobbin winder side here. We're going to put our screws in. And once we get these in, we're just going to test this just to see if this one's going to fix it, which obviously it's going to help a lot. Sometimes the screws don't line quite up. You have to kind of wiggle that motor around till you get them in there. Don't force them in. You don't want to cross thread them. So what I'm going to do is just pull this up and snug up those screws. I think we can go ahead and run this now just to make sure it solves our problem. So I'm going to plug the encoder in. You'll need that. Make sure you plug it in correctly. Connect your motor together. They only go one way. And let's see, I'm going to have to acknowledge this error. Sometimes you have to do this a couple times. I'll hit the OK button or cancel. Hit cancel. That took it out. I'm going to hit the X to close. But I'm probably going to get this again. So sometimes you have to do it a couple times. There it goes. But once that goes off, I'm going to go ahead and go back into constant. And we're going to listen to this motor now. That's what a good motor should sound like. Just that low hum. Okay. So as you see, I've taken the old pulley off of the old motor and I've put it on my Statler. You should have 3 set screws for that. The bigger of the 3, there's one big one, goes on the flat of that shaft. I don't know if you can see it, maybe from this end you can see there's a flat on that shaft. And that's where the big one goes. And then you snug up the other 2. Now we have to put this belt on, and probably an easy way to do this, we're going to simply loosen these 2 front screws. Like so. Then I can take my belt, sorry about the poor video, take the belt and put it into the pulley and then just rotate it onto that pulley there. Just kind of give it a little pull up and then snug these screws up, these 2 front ones. Now what I found, the cool thing is, and this is not always exact science here, but if I loosen the 2 back ones now, because remember I had these all just snugged up a little bit, loosen the 2 back ones, let me see if I can see that. Yeah, there we go. So, back on that motor there, okay. So if I push the back down now, and I make that level across the top, then I can tighten those 2 screws down, and that's going to give me pretty much the belt tension that I want. What you should have is it should push in about 1/4 inch on one side.